Hello everyone. Yes, please somebody ping me if I'm audible. Yes, please. Yes, guys, somebody please ping me if I'm audible so that I can start the session. Yes, please. Good evening, Yuvraj. Good evening, Uvasri. Okay, thank you. Okay, let's get started. Okay, thank you. Thank you, everyone. Good evening, Smita. Good evening, Rituparna. Good evening, Shweta. Okay, now let's get started. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Unacademy, India's largest online learning platform. Let's crack UPSC CSE English. Now, before I start with very important topic today, that is economic impact of British rule in India, let me introduce myself for the people who are new on the platform or who are attending my session for the first time. My name is Alok Ojha. I've done my engineering from Pune. I have been associated with the field of UPSC since past 6.5 to 7 years. I have been through various stages of civil services exam. I hold the experience of giving serious SSB twice. I also hold the experience of exams like CAPF Assistant Commander, Uttar Pradesh PSC and EPFO exam. I am involved into the field of teaching since past 4 to 4.5 years. And in these 4 to 4.5 years, I have mentored more than 15,000 students for UPSC. Now, basically, there might be a question in the mind of an aspirant why one should prefer Unacademy as a platform for online learning. So here are the ample of reasons why one should prefer Unacademy as a platform for online learning. First of all, you'll have daily live classes on the Unacademy platform. All the courses on Unacademy platform are highly structured in nature and there is a proper timetable through which the courses are being conducted. Then, basically, Unacademy offers you assimilation of top and dynamic educators of India on a single platform. You can directly interact with the educators. You can clear any sorts of doubts or queries with the educators. Then, most important aspect for a civil servant aspirant is basically developing competence or competitiveness. Now, why competence or competitiveness is important? Let us understand this. Now, please pay attention carefully. Like it is said that each year, approximately around 8 to 9 lakh aspirants fill up the form for UPSC, out of which 3 to 4 lakh aspirants appear for the prelims exam, out of which 10 to 11,000 qualify the prelims exam, and 3 to 4,000 qualify the mains exam. And finally, 1,000 odd make into the final list. So if I filter it down, how many students filled up the form? It was approximately around 8 to 9 lakh. How many made into the final list? It is approximately around 1,000. Getting the points clear? So the most important aspect that we need to understand here is one aspirant is competing with 800 to 900 other aspirants. Clear? So we need to develop that sort of competence so that we can analyze our preparation. Okay? And one can have unlimited access to the courses on Unacademy platform. These are the few top and dynamic educators of India from whom you are going to learn through. These are the courses being offered on the Unacademy platform. If you like my lectures, please subscribe to Unacademy and use my code AKOUS. I repeat the code AKOUS. There is also something called as iconic subscription. Now, what is iconic subscription all about? Let us understand within short. Like for example, you are preparing for civil services and you are a beginner. Now you do not know what resources should you use, what is the channels that you need to follow. Getting the points clear? How much time should be dedicated to a particular subject? What is the importance of answer writing? So basically, you will have a personal mentor He would act as a guide for you, who would be guiding you throughout your preparation for civil services. So this is nothing but iconic subscription. So for example, if you choose me as your mentor, use my code AKOUS. Getting the points clear? So that I can guide you for the preparation. Like what all resources should be used, what all resources needs to be read, what should be, how much time should be dedicated to prelims, how much time should be dedicated to the mains, what optional should be chosen up. So basically, I would be guiding you throughout that process. So please use my code AKOUS. Okay. Now let's get started with a very, very important topic today. That is economic impact of British rule in India. And we are going to talk about three major topics. That is drain of wealth, then deindustrialization of Indian industries, and commercialization of agriculture. Okay. Good evening, Shipra. Good evening, Shashank. Good evening, Priyadarshan. Good evening, Sumit. Good evening, Ram Kumar. Hi, Alima. Good evening, Raghupati. Good evening, Om Shanti. Good evening, Saujanya. And hi to everyone. Yes, Priyadarshan, yesterday I had an off. Getting the points clear? I had an off yesterday, so I did not take a lecture yesterday. Okay. So, guys, let's get started with a very important topic. Now, for the people who are new on the platform, let me tell you one thing. If you have a myth in your mind that history is a boring subject, please remove that myth from your mind. History is one of the most interesting subjects. Getting the points clear? The only thing is how you study history. Isn't that so? For example, whenever you are watching a movie, you never get bored by it. Why? Because it is in the format of a story. Isn't that so? Similarly, similar pattern we are going to follow in the entire course of history. And if you watch my ancient India sessions, you will come to know that I follow a very simplistic pattern, that is SFC, story, fact, and concept. Because I personally believe if you associate the fact and the concept with the story, you will never ever forget it. Getting the points clear? So let's get started with another important topic, economic impact of British rule in India. Yes, hi Juhi. Now, listen to me very carefully. Drain of wealth. What is the meaning of drain of wealth? Drain of wealth basically means the resources of India is being drained to some or the other country. Getting the points clear? Now the resources of India were basically drained to England. Now, right from the start itself, right from the 14th, 15th century, the resources of India were drained. Now, basically, why I have told 14th, 15th century? Because from 6th to 7th century AD, basically, Muslims or the Arabs started coming in India. But they made India their home. Getting the points clear? But when Europeans started coming to India, their only purpose was to trade with India. For example, when Portuguese came to India, their only purpose was to India and then take out all the resources from India to their country. Now, when French came to India, they had the similar intention. And when English East India Company came to India, in fact, they also had that same intention. Because in Europe, there was a very different game that was being followed. And that game was colonialism. What is colonialism? Conquering new territories and exploiting the people and the resources of that region. This is the basic and the core principle of colonialism. So countries like Portugal, Dutch, Denmark, France, England were following the policy of colonialism. And one of the victims of colonialism was India. Right from the start itself, the resources of India were drained to European countries. Now you can understand how rich might be India. Like all the European countries are trading with India and driving out these resources from India. Okay. Now, basically, it is said that it is a sort of indirect tribute by India to the Britain. Now, let us understand where did this drain of wealth start from. You might have heard about a famous battle called as Battle of Plassey, which started in 1757. Now, there is a background behind the Battle of Plassey. Now, basically, it is said that Bengal was a very important center of trade and commerce for all the European powers. Please listen to the background properly so that you can easily understand it. Okay. Now, Hooghly, or specifically Bengal, was an important center of trade and commerce right from the start itself. And now, when English East India Company and French East India Company came in India, they started establishing factories at various places in India. That is on the east coast of India and the west coast of India. And majority of the factories were located in the region of Bengal. Why? Because Bengal is a coastal area, and from there they can easily trade with Southeast Asian countries. Getting the points clear? Like English also had colonies in Southeast Asia. French also had colonies in Southeast Asia. So if they have factories or fortification or settlements in Bengal, they can easily get connected with Southeast Asia. Isn't that so? So majority of the factories were located in this region. Now there was a local Nawab of Bengal whose name was Siraj-ud-Daulah. He gave a warning to both Britain and France that nobody is going to construct any sort of fortification in the region of Bengal without the permission of Nawab of Bengal. Okay? So as a sort of respect towards Nawab of Bengal, French stopped all their activities of fortification in the region of Bengal. But English did not pay a proper attention to them. They took their what we say words in airs. Getting the points clear? They did not take it very seriously. So one fine day, Nawab of Bengal, Siraj-ud-Daulah, again warned the English East India Company that until and unless you stop your fortification activities, getting the points clear, we will be stopping all your trading activities in the region of Bengal. But again, English East India Company did not take the warning seriously. They completely got so much involved in the trade basically that they completely neglected the warning. Now Siraj-ud-Daulah became very angry. What did Siraj-ud-Daulah do? He started attacking the fortifications of English East India Company in Bengal. Okay? He started attacking the fortifications of English East India Company in Bengal. Now English East India Company appointed a special officer whose name was John Holwell. I repeat, English East India Company appointed a special officer whose name was John Holwell to protect the fortifications in the region of Bengal. But Siraj-ud-Daulah had a huge army, and basically approximately around 150 to 200 English officers were appointed. English soldiers were appointed under the leadership of John Holwell. Now John Holwell could not, what we say, tackle the situation properly. He could not face the challenge that was posed by Siraj-ud-Daulah. So many soldiers escaped. They fled away. And few soldiers, specifically to be very specific, 64 soldiers along with John Holwell were captured by Siraj-ud-Daulah and made prisoners of war. Okay? Now it is said that, please listen to me very properly. Now they were made prisoners of war and they were kept in an underground jail. They were kept in an underground cell. There was no light, no sunlight could enter into that cell. It was completely dark. It was completely like there was no proper ventilation in that cell. Like it is said that the prisoners were suffering from suffocation. Such was the condition of that jail. Getting the points clear? Now, basically it is said that many of the soldiers out of 64 soldiers died. Okay? Now English East India Company wanted to take a revenge from Siraj-ud-Daulah. Now they were very angry with this person Siraj-ud-Daulah, who was Nawab of Bengal. And at that time, among the three presidencies, Bengal was the richest presidency. It had all sorts of natural as well as material resources. Now what did British do? Siraj-ud-Daulah basically had a warrior. He had a commander-in-chief whose name was Mir Jafar. Getting the points clear? Now English East India Company entered into a conspiracy with Mir Jafar, who was commander-in-chief of the Nawab of Bengal. Getting the points clear? And they told Mir Jafar that if you help us in defeating the Nawab, we will make you the next Nawab. Getting the points clear? So Mir Jafar and English East India Company destroyed the Nawab of Bengal Siraj ud Daulah in Battle of Plassey. Hope so the points are clear. Now it is said that British started acquiring more and more territories in the region of Bengal. Now it is said that company had already gained the trust of the Mughals, and Mughal gave them Dastak, Dastur, Nazrana. What is Dastak, Dastur and Nazrana? Free passes. Now, what is free passes? Like if you remember my sessions on modern India, I've told you initially when English East India Company came to India, they were denied the permission. Getting the points clear? They were denied the permission of establishing factories in India. But with the passage of time, they started establishing factories in India. Like Captain William Hawkins came initially, then Captain Middleton came, then Sir Thomas Roe came. So slowly, they gained so much of the trust of the Mughals, basically, that Mughals blindly started trusting the English East India Company. And English East India Company officials misused that trust. Getting the points clear? Initially, Mughals granted permission. Now they told them, you want to trade anywhere in India, you have the complete support of the Mughals. And this was the biggest blunder that the Mughals did in the trade policy of India. Now, basically, French were trading with India. Portugal were trading with India. Then English East India Company was trading with India. But English East India Company felt that until and unless they are going to wipe out the competitors, they cannot acquire more and more profit. Isn't that so? Now let me give you a small example. I'll give you a very small example. Suppose there is a colony. Okay. Now in that colony, there is only one medical store and there are 250 residential houses there. Okay. Now there is another colony which again has 250 residential houses, and there are 10 medicals. Obviously the profit margin would be higher where there is one medical. Why? Because he has a monopoly over that occupation. Similarly, English East India Company felt that until and unless they wipe out their enemies, getting the points clear, they cannot acquire monopoly of the trade, and then they cannot establish more and more profit, or they cannot accrue more and more profit from India. So they started wiping out Portugal, they started battles with French, and now they became whole and sole rulers of India. Initially, they came for the purpose of trade. Now they were ruling over India. Now they were dictating terms and conditions to the Indian rulers. Getting the points clear? Now listen to me. Now various things were there. They introduced something called as land revenue settlement. Like there was something called as permanent settlement that we have seen. Like basically what happens, listen to me very carefully. There were three types of land revenue policies that were practiced in India. First was zamindari system or permanent settlement. Second was raiyatwari system. And third was mahalwari system. Now, in zamindari system, English East India Company appointed zamindar to collect the revenue from the peasant. Getting the points clear? Like the company never directly collected the revenue from the farmer. In very simple words, zamindar acted as a middleman between the company and the farmer. Zamindar collected the revenue from the farmer and gave the taxes to the English East India Company. Now all the taxes had to be paid in cash. Getting the points clear? Second most important was Rayatwari system. In Rayatwari system, company directly collected the revenue from the farmer. And third comes Mahalwari system. Company directly collected the revenue from the village. Getting the points clear? Now it is said that huge amount of taxes were taken from the Indian peasant. I'll give you a very small example. Suppose an Indian peasant is earning rupees 100. I'm giving you a small example so that you can understand. Suppose a farmer is earning rupees 100. Now listen to me. What was left with the farmer? Please pay attention. Suppose I'm a farmer. I have taken all sorts of loan from the money lender. Then I have to buy resources for my agriculture purpose. Then basically I have to invest in irrigation. Getting the points clear? I earn rupees 100 after selling my crop. Okay. Now 70 rupees I pay the tax. I'm left with rupees 30. Then basically out of 30 rupees, I give 10 rupees to the money lender as an interest what I have taken as a loan. Now I am left with rupees 20. Now 10 rupees to 15 rupees I invest in the agriculture field again for buying the seeds, for buying the fertilizers, getting the points, for basically all sorts of activities associated with agriculture. And just I'm left with 5 rupees. Now, how can I run the expenses of my family in just 5 rupees? Are you getting the points clear? So, such was the condition of the peasants at that time. And such huge amount of money was extracted by the English East India Company and it was diverted to their own country. Getting the points clear? Now they have acquired monopolistic policy. Getting the points clear? Now, please let us understand what is drain of wealth in a very simple words. Please pay attention carefully so that you can understand the technical points behind drain of wealth. Please pay attention very carefully. Okay. You can read the statement here given by John Sullivan. This statement was asked in the UPSC mains exam. I'll read the statement and then I'll explain the entire theory so that all the points are clear. John Sullivan, the president of the Board of Revenue, had wrote, our system acts very much like a sponge, drawing up all the good things from the bank of Ganges and squeezing them down on the banks of Thames. Please read the statement that is flashing on the screen. Now I'll explain this statement so that you can easily understand what is drain of wealth. Now please pay attention. The first person to highlight this theory was Dadabhai Naoroji. Listen very carefully. At that time, commercialization of agriculture was in vogue. Now there are two types of agriculture. Okay, basically commercialized agriculture and subsistence agriculture. Now in commercialized agriculture, I produce those crops basically which are very important or which like they have a very huge demand in the national and international market. And subsistence agriculture, I produce those crops basically which are useful for sustaining my livelihood. Okay. Now basically commercialized agriculture was like basically for example cultivation of sugarcane, cultivation of opium, poppy, jute, cotton, indigo. All these are commercialized crops because they have a huge demand in the national as well as in the international market. Okay. And after selling them, they are also called as cash crops. Why cash crop? Because they are going to get instant cash after selling these crops. Okay. Now, European planters came to India and told our peasants that initially that compulsorily you have to cultivate cotton or indigo. I am giving you an example so that you can understand. Okay. European planters came to India and they forced our farmers or the cultivators to cultivate on certain part of their land commercial crops. Now our what we say peasants were hell bent to cultivate that. Why? Because there were 2 to 3 reasons associated with that. If they did not cultivate commercial crops, their land would be seized. Secondly, they would be suppressed or oppressed by the Britishers. And third major aspect, already the peasants had taken certain loans from the money lender and they had to pay the land revenue in cash. So they thought that if I go for commercialized crops, I will gain certain money. I will get certain cash. And through this cash, I can repay my debts. Getting the points clear? This was thought by our peasant. This actually did not happen. Now, what did the European planters do? Suppose I am a peasant of a cotton. I am cultivating cotton. They told me that you cultivate cotton and after your what we say crop is ready for the harvest, before it is cut, we are going to give you 5 rupees. It is decided initially. Okay. Now please pay attention carefully. Now European planters have told me we are going to give you rupees 5. Now my crop is ready for cutting. Now at this time they are going to tell me we are going to give you just rupees 1 or 2. Okay, if you have to sell the crop, you can sell the crop. Otherwise, we are not going to buy the crop. Now, who is going to buy that cotton? Getting the points clear? Now, I am hell bent to sell that cotton at rupees 1. Okay, please pay attention carefully. Now, this raw cotton will go to Manchester or Liverpool. And basically, the raw cotton, the fibers are segregated, the fibers are cleaned, and then it will go to London. At London, it will be converted into a textile. And again, it will come back to India. Okay. Now, the price of that textile, the price of that cloth is rupees 10. Please pay attention very carefully. They have taken the raw material from me at rupees 1. That raw material was sent to Manchester or Liverpool. From there, it was sent to London, where it was converted into a manufactured good. And again, it came back to India. Okay. Now, the price of that good is rupees 10. How much rupees it was purchased? 1. And how much rupees it is being sold? 10 rupees. Where is the raw material from? India. Where it is sold? India. Getting the points clear? Now please pay attention. If Britishers could have established factory in India itself, lots of money could have been saved. Secondly, lots of unemployed could have got the employment opportunities. But they did not do so. Getting the points clear? So if you look at this process systematically, in a very systematic manner, India's resources are driven out of India. Getting the points clear? India's resources are diverted out of India. And this process, in a very methodological manner, in a very systematic manner, was highlighted for the first time by Dada Bhai Naoroji in his book, Poverty and Un-British Rule in India. Getting the points clear? And this is called as drain of wealth. Now, if you read the statement properly, I'll repeat the statement. Please pay attention. It was asked in the mains. Our system acts very much like a sponge, drawing up all the good things from the bank of Ganges and squeezing them down on the bank of Thames. Okay, I take a sponge, I dip that sponge in river Ganges. I pick up that sponge and squeeze that sponge in Thames, which is the river of London. In very, very simple words, I take good resources from India and divert all the resources to London. Getting the points clear? Indirectly, India's money is going out of India. Getting the points clear? All these things were highlighted by various other thinkers as well, like R.C. Dutt, G. Subramaniam Iyer, G.V. Joshi, Prithvish Chandra Ray, M.G. Ranade, Gopal Krishna Gokhale, and so on. Getting the points clear? Yes, Megha Kriti, very good. Teen Kathya system, very, very good. Getting the points clear? It is about indigo cultivation. Yes, Satya, fortification means construction of cities or forts to protect the people. Yes, Shruti, perfect. All these are commercial crops, cotton, sugarcane, and so on. Yes, Gayatri, commercial crops and cash crops are the same. Okay. Good evening, Surabuddin. So yes, please ping me. Are the points clear till here? Yes, guys, please ping me. Are the points clear till here? So that I can move further. Yes, Shruti, listen to me. Since like basically why cash crops and commercial crops are usually one and the same basically because they get instant money. Although it is sold to the second party, but here cash is involved. There is a direct transaction in cash. Getting the points there. That is why it is usually compared in comparative analysis, both are same. Okay, Shruti? Okay. Now let's move further. Now it is said that basically Sir Syed Ahmad Khan did not believe in the theory of Nauroji, that basically India's resources are driven out of India. Okay. Now, why did not he believe in that? Getting the points clear. Why he did not believe in that? Because he was loyal towards the English East India Company. It is said that Sir Syed Ahmad Khan initially believed that if we remain loyal to the English East India Company or to the Britishers, some or the other day Britishers are going to repay us for our loyalty. Getting the points clear? That is why Sir Syed Ahmad Khan completely criticized or rejected the drain of wealth theory which was put forward by Dada Bhai Nauroji, who is also referred as Grand Old Man of India. Okay? Now, yes, Sumit. Yes, Shruti, I'll summarize in short. Once I'll complete this, I will summarize this. Okay, Shruti? Un-British means basically, Sumit, you have a question. What is un-British rule? Basically, to be very frank, these were the policies imposed upon the Indians. Getting the points clear? And Britain personally believed in democratic principle. What sort of democratic principles are these? So this is called as un-British rule. Getting the points clear? Okay. Now let us understand forms of drain. Now, for example, what all sorts of drains were there? Now listen to me very carefully. Suppose I am working as a civil servant for English East India Company. Please pay attention very carefully. Now, whatever money I am earning in India, certain part of the money I would be sending to my family in London. Pay attention properly, please. What are the forms of drain? Okay. Now, certain part of the money I would be sending to my family in London. This is called as remittances. Okay. Now, there is something called as home charges. Now, what is home charges all about? Pay attention properly. Suppose I'm a civil servant. Okay. I am getting certain money. I'll send certain part of the money to my family in London. Then, after my service is over, I'll get retired. After retirement, I will get a particular fund, that is gratuity. After that, I would be getting pension on monthly basis. Now, where this pension and gratuity will come from? It will come from India. Okay. Now, English East India Company is fighting war with all other European nations. Getting the points clear? Now, for that war, it will require men and material. And to buy material, it will require money. So where this money will come from? It will come from India. Okay. Now, for example, Britishers started developing railways in India. And if you remember one system called as guarantee system, I've talked in Dalhousie. Okay. Now, railways were built on the basis of a contract. Contracts were given for construction of the railways. Okay. And at the end, the railways were bought. Okay. Now, basically, the development of railway was not for development of India. It was basically to serve their own purpose of transportation so that the goods could be easily transported. Getting the points clear? For smooth functioning of trade. Where will that investment come from? That money will come from India. Okay. Now, suppose English East India Company is establishing a new colony. And in that new colony, it has to go for construction of fortification. It has to deploy an army. So who will take care of all these administrative things? India is going to take care of all these things. So in very, very simple words, if any activity is associated with commercialized purpose of English East India Company, who is going to serve that purpose? India is going to serve that purpose. And this is called as home charges. Getting the points clear? This is referred as home charges. So there was a question in the UPSC prelims exam, which among the following things are included in the home charges? First is pension and gratuities. Second is interest on the public debt and expenditure on the railways. So all the three are included in the home charges. Okay. For example, if they are buying military stores, if they are buying basically weapons, Who is going to pay for that weapons? Indians are going to pay for that weapon. India is going to pay for that weapon. So in very, very simple words, getting the points clear, India's resources are driven out of India and very little is left for the development of India. Getting the points clear? So this is nothing but drain of wealth theory, which was portrayed by Dada Bhai Navroji. Hope so the points are clear, my friends. Yes, Saurabh, perfect. In 1850, it is in 1853. Okay, Saurabh? Yes, Satya, all these facts reveal that India was a very rich country at that time. Okay, see, Megha, you have asked me the question, did he believed in the Gandhian philosophy? Listen to me, sometimes Gandhian philosophy is misinterpreted sometimes. We believe that Gandhi always believed in being loyal to the English East India Company. To an extent, initial part, he believed that if we follow certain constitutional things, Britishers are going to give us independence. This was the belief of MK Gandhi initially. Okay. But later on, MK Gandhi believed that until and unless we go out of basically, we until and unless we follow extra constitutional means, getting the points clear, we are not going to gain independence. This was a belief of Gandhi later on. Getting the points clear? So Gandhi had a dual mix of policy. And Sir Syed Ahmad Khan, like it is said that for the upliftment of the Muslims at that time, we are going to study this in socio-religious reform movement. For the upliftment of Muslim, it is necessary to remain loyal to the Britishers. Getting the points clear? Hope so, Megha, I have answered your question. Okay, so this is all about drain of wealth. Now let us understand Britishers' policies toward India's handicraft. Okay. Now, yes, I have to ask you one question. Uh, please be very honest. Day before yesterday, I had given you two questions for answer writing. How many of you did the answer writing? Please ping me and please write the timing. As I have told you, for 150 words, the timing should be 6.5 minutes. And for 250 words, the timing should be maximum 10 minutes. So how many of you wrote the answers? Yes, please. Because answer writing is very, very important in this exam. Yes, please ping me how many of you wrote the answers along with the timing. Yes. Okay. Sarfaraz, you took 8 minutes for 150 words and 12 minutes for basically what we said 250 words. Very good. Please try and cover 6.5 minutes for 150 words and 10 minutes for what we say 250 words. Okay. Raghupati, please focus on the timing. 150 words should be completed approximately in 7 minutes. Okay, Satya, good. Yes. So yes, everyone has practiced answer writing, but please pay attention to the timing. Okay, because timing is very, very important in the exam. Getting the points clear? Now let's get started with British policies towards Indian handicraft. Now, I'll go to the background again so that you can understand. Okay. Yes, Shruti, you had asked me to summarize the thing. Okay. I am repeating the background and the summary as well. Please pay attention. Priyadarshan, we need to work upon the timings. Okay. Gayatri, your comments are not getting deleted. I can read your comments. Okay. Now please pay attention carefully. I am repeating the background so that you guys can understand. Now, when English East India Company came in India, now they followed a very different policy. Pay attention very carefully. They forced the Indian peasants to cultivate cotton. I'm giving an example. Now, when the crop, they told the Indian peasants that we are going to take this cotton at rupees 5. But when the crop was ready for the harvest, they told that we are only going to give you rupees 1. If you have to sell this cotton, sell it. Otherwise, we are not going to buy it. Okay. Now the Indian farmer or the Indian peasant was forced to sell this cotton. Okay. Now this cotton will go to Manchester or Liverpool. From here it will go to London. And from London it will come back again to India. Now the cost of the manufactured good or the manufactured textile is now rupees 10. India was the producer of the cotton and India is the market for this cotton. Raw material is from India and the goods are sold in India. And the profit is not accrued to India. Profit is diverted where? The profit is taken by the English East India Company. Okay? Now, please pay attention. They took the good for 1 rupee, raw material. They are selling that material for rupees 10. If they could have established factory in India itself, that good could be hardly of 2 to 3 rupees in India. I'm giving an example so that you can understand. Okay? That good could have hardly been at rupees 2 or 3. But now it is sold at rupees 10. But we Indians had the other option. Getting the points clear? Because at that time, India's handicraft was famous worldwide. Worldwide. And even today it is famous. For example, chicken kurta of Lucknow. You might have heard about that chicken work of Lucknow. Okay. Then sari of Banaras. Sari of Maharashtra, that is Yavatmal. Then sari of basically Chanderi, Ashoknagar district of Madhya Pradesh. Getting the points clear? Dhoti and dupattas of Ahmedabad. Then woolen products of Kashmir and Rajasthan were world famous at that time. And India had their own flourishing handicraft industry. So we were not dependent basically on the British goods. Getting the points clear? For example, if I am getting a dhoti which is coming from Britain at rupees 10, and that same dhoti I'm getting at rupees 6 in India. Obviously, the quality of both the products are same. Obviously, I'm going to prefer that 6 rupees. Isn't that so? So we had the other option in the form of handicrafts. But Britishers were what we say staunch followers of mercantilist policy. Now, what is mercantilist policy? Pay attention properly so that you can understand. They took the raw material. Please pay attention. They took the raw material for rupees 1. They are selling the product at rupees 10. Okay. For example, their expense, the entire expense is rupees 2. Getting the points clear? So the total expense comes down to 3 rupees. Okay. 1 rupees, they buyed it and 2 rupees in processing. So the total expense is basically 3 rupees. I'm giving an example. And now they are selling that product in India at rupees 10. So they are earning basically, to be very frank, 7 rupees profit from India. Okay. Now, we people had our own handicraft, which we are getting at rupees 6. So we started preferring our own products. Getting the points clear? As well as our products, our handicrafts had a huge demand in the international market, like the chicken work of Lucknow. Okay. Then Kolhapuri Chappal, you might have heard about that. Very famous one. All these were in great demand in the European markets. Our Indian handicrafts were well known throughout the world. Okay. Now we were getting the same product at rupees 6. Now, British were accruing the profit of 7 rupees from India. Now they cannot directly impose restriction on the Indian handicraft. They required certain reasons to destroy Indian handicraft. So they followed a very different policy so that they can systematically destroy the Indian handicraft. And what policy did they follow? Please pay attention. For example, their product cost was 3 rupees. They are selling at 10 rupees. Okay, 7 rupees profit. Now our handicraft was at 6 rupee. What did they do? They started selling their products at just rupees 5. Okay, still they are getting a profit of 2 rupees. Isn't that so? Now our handicraft price is rupees 6, and the what we say the product of Britain was at rupees 5. Systematically, people started preferring the product from Britain, and our handicraft industry started getting paralyzed. Now, what did they? They started imposing new restrictions now again. What sort of restrictions were imposed? Now, India cannot export goods to any other country. And if it is exporting the goods to any other countries, have to pay a very high tax. Secondly, if the goods are exported to any other country, the goods will only go in British cargo ship. Getting the points there? The goods are going to go only in the British cargo ships. Secondly, handicraft products takes a lot of time. For example, if a shawl is made with the hand, it will take approximately around 2 to 3 days for making one shawl. Getting the points there? Even if the worker is working for 6 to 7 hours on daily basis, he will take approximately around 2 to 3 days for making one shawl. But industrial revolution was in vogue in London, in England. And now machines were getting pace in comparison to the what we say basically manpower. There was more and more development of power loom, and these power looms were replacing hand looms. Example, if in 2 days, I'm giving you a small example, if in 2 days one dhoti can be made by hand, so in 2 days hundreds dhoti can be made by a machine. So basically, this was the era of competition. This was the era of competitiveness, and Britishers wanted to sell their goods. So basically, handloom industry started declining, which indirectly paralyzed our village industry. So all these sorts of policies were followed by the Britishers in paralyzing the Indian industries or the Indian handicraft. Got the points clear? So this is nothing but basically deindustrialization of Indian industries. Hope so the points are clear, guys. Yes, Saurabh, Swadeshi movement was started basically around 1905 when there was what we say partition of Bengal being announced by Lord Curzon. Okay, Swadeshi movement of MK Gandhi is quite different from the Swadeshi movement which was practiced in 1905. We will come to that point. Don't worry, guys. Okay. Yes, Saurabh, Paitani Sadi from Paitan and all these. Yes, guys. Okay, did you understand the deindustrialization of Indian industry? Are the points clear? Please let me know so that I can move further. Okay. Okay. Thank you, guys. Today's topic is again short. We are going to talk about the another topic, commercialization of agriculture during the Britishers. I have already spoken about commercialization of agriculture, but still I'll repeat the certain points. Okay. Now, what is commercialized agriculture? There are two types of agriculture, subsistence agriculture and commercialized agriculture. Commercialized agriculture basically means I produce those crops which are high in demand in the national and the international market so that I can accrue huge amount of money because I as a farmer was subject to all sorts of vagaries. Example, I have to pay to the English East India Company the tax. I have to pay an interest to the money lender for the loan that I have taken. I have to reinvest certain amount of capital on my land so that the productivity of my land increases. And again, I have to carry out my daily expenses of my family. So as a peasant, as a farmer, our Indian peasants were overburdened. So they adopted one practice that is called as commercialized agriculture so that they can get certain amount of money. And through this money, basically, they can, what we say, get debt ridden. Sorry, they can get away from their debt. They can reinvest their capital in their land. They can carry out their personal expenses and so on. So our peasants started preferring commercialized agriculture. And in fact, European planters started forcing our peasants to go for commercialized agriculture. Why? Because these commercial crops were in high demand in the national and the international market. I'll give you a very, very small example. Like we'll study about Champaran Satyagraha tomorrow. Tomorrow we are going to study about important peasant movements. So I'll be discussing these points there, but I'll repeat one point. Now, in Champaran Satyagraha, what happened? British indigo planters, basically indigo is a dye which is basically used on the cloth. Now, why this dye is used basically? It is used basically so that the cloths do not have wrinkles on them. Okay. Now, indigo is also referred as blue gold, and indigo could only be cultivated in the tropical climate, in the tropical countries. And India is a semi-tropical country. Okay. Now, basically, Britishers decided that they are going to cultivate indigo in India, and they started forcing the peasants to cultivate indigo. I'm giving an example so that you can understand. Now, there is a place called as Champaran in Bihar. Now, here the peasants were forced to cultivate indigo under one system. This is called as Teen Kathia system. Getting the points clear? This system is called as Teen Kathia system. It simply means that the peasant had to cultivate indigo compulsorily on 3 by 20th part of the land. Getting the points clear? For example, if I have a land of 20 acres, compulsorily I have to cultivate indigo on 3 acres of my land. This is called as Teen Kathia system. And this was followed basically in Champaran district. So basically there was a local peasant whose name was Rajkumar Shukla. He invited MK Gandhi to Champaran, okay, so that he can survey the condition of the peasants in the region of Champaran. Okay, so basically MK Gandhi came with JB Kriplani, Mahadev Desai, Rajendra Prasad. Getting the points clear? And basically he conducted his first satyagraha in India. And then Champaran Agrarian Committee was created and Teen Kathia system was abolished. So the purpose of saying this was basically the peasants initially thought that they would get debt, they would basically get away from their debt. But with the passage of time, you can also understand one thing. Commercial crop absorbs all the fertility of the soil. If you know that, for example, if sugarcane is cultivated, sometimes the land is kept fallow for 2 to 3 months. Why the land is kept fallow? So that the soil can replenish its fertility. It can regain its fertility. Getting the points there? Otherwise, nitrogenous crops are cultivated like mustard, sesame, pulses, grams. Why? Because they can fix the nitrogen in the soil and soil can regain its fertility. Getting the points there? All these are scientific aspects of agriculture, and our peasants were highly unaware about these scientific aspects. They kept on cultivating the commercial crops, they kept on feeding the British industries and the British needs, and they did not knew that there one fine day their land will become barren. And when the land will become barren, Britishers are not going to help you out. Getting the points clear? So basically, they said that they started cultivating all sorts of commercial crops: jute, tobacco, indigo, tea, coffee, sugarcane, opium, poppy, and so on. Okay, and these crops were in very high demand in the national and the international market. So, to be very frank, this process of commercialization, we cannot say that it was completely devastating process, because in fact our farmers also learned something new from this process. Getting the points clear? Now, I've already told you about what caused commercialization of agriculture in India. Now, as I've told you, commercial crops were in great demand in the national and the international market. Secondly, basically they said that Britishers made India as a supplier of raw material. Getting the points there? And Britishers started acquiring monopoly over the Indian trade. They wanted to acquire monopoly so that their profit margin will increase. So to establish that monopoly, they forced the Indian peasants to cultivate commercial crops. Okay? Then basically, certain crops could only be cultivated in India. And since these Britishers were educated, they knew that India was a land of rich natural resources. It had varied natural resources and the soil in India was quite fertile. Getting the points clear? So, easily various types of crops can be cultivated in India. And secondly, our peasants, they had different conditions. They had to pay the land revenue, and the land revenue compulsorily needs to be paid in the cash. So basically, they were forced to cultivate commercial crops or cash crops. Why? Because still they had to pay the land revenue in cash. Getting the points clear? Then, industrial revolution was gaining pace in England, and England wanted to take huge profit out of this. Please pay attention to this. We are going to talk about this concept in world history. Now, initially in England, there were three categories of people. That is the king, the bourgeois, and the proletariat. I repeat, king, the bourgeois, and the proletariat. What is this three category? King had the money and the power. Bourgeois had the money, but they did not had the power. And proletariat were poor peasants and the laborers. They neither had the power nor they had the money. Okay? Now pay attention carefully. Now, industrial revolution started gaining pace in the region of England. And now there was a what we say rise of various businessmen in the region of England. Now the bourgeois class, initially which had money but did not had power, they started accruing and constructing factories in the region of England. So they had both now, money and power. And now they started misusing the proletariat, that is the labor class and the peasant. Now these labor class and the peasants were working in the factories in a very derogatory condition, because the only intention of the factory side was to gain maximum amount of profit with minimum investment. It is said that the laborers were forced to work for 12 to 14 hours on daily basis. Even the women had to work minimum for 10 to 12 hours. A child above 9 years of age had to work for at least basically 10 hours. Now you might have seen chimney on the factories. Getting the points clear? Now it is said that basically the black soot surrounded that chimney sometimes, and the chimney might get choked. Basically, it is said that small children were entered into that chimney, and many children died in that chimney. Why? To clean that smokestack. Such was the condition of the people during the industrialization. Getting the points clear? But they hardly cared about it. Why? Because they wanted to increase their profit. Because mercantilism believe only in one concept, that is increasing the profit irrespective of the conditions. Now, they wanted to replicate the same thing in India. They wanted to take all the resources so that they can accrue the huge amount of profit and emerge as the rising and the richest nation of the world. Getting the points clear? That is why they started forcing the peasants of India to cultivate indigo, sugarcane, poppy, opium, and all sorts of commercial crops. Okay? Now, what was the impact of commercialization of agriculture? Let us understand. Example, if indigo is cultivated in India and this indigo goes to Italian cities of Venice and Genoa, from there it spreads into the entire European market. Now, what will happen in Europe? People will come to know that where this product has come from. This product has come from India. So indirectly, India's market was linked to the global economy. Getting the points clear? Now, initially our peasants were just involved in subsistence agriculture. They knew that we have to cultivate pulses, we have to cultivate paddy, we have to cultivate wheat. But they never knew that even we can cultivate tea, even we can cultivate coffee, even we can cultivate sugarcane. So they were highly unaware about the utility of their soil. Getting the points clear? So Britishers made these people aware. Secondly, there was commerce. This led to specialization of crops. I'll give you a very small example. You might have heard about geographical indication status, like coffee of Karnataka is world famous. Isn't that so? Like the Kurg district of Karnataka is called as coffee capital of India. It is basically known for two types of coffee, which is quite world famous. That is Arabica and Robusta. In fact, Liberica is also a type of coffee which is cultivated in this region. But Arabica and Robusta coffee of Kurg district of Karnataka is world famous. Getting the points clear? So we people came to know about the importance of our own soil. Like Basmati chawal of the region of Assam is quite famous. So we come to know that we can cultivate a specialized type of rice in Assam apart from the normal rice. The tea in Assam or the tea gardens in Assam. Getting the points clear basically? So basically, it is said that we came to know about our specialization of the crop. From where? After the commercialization of agriculture. Getting the points clear? So it helped in this way. Okay. And one more thing, as I've told you, commercialized agriculture is basically based on one more aspect, and that basic aspect is scientific process. Because scientific farming is required. Isn't that so? You require a proper irrigation process, proper agriculture tools and implements, you require harvesting techniques. So our peasants learned a lot. Okay. Now, what were the negative impacts? I've already discussed. Our peasants thought that they will get what we say ameliorated of all their problems, but their problems doubled now. Getting the points clear? Only the rich farmers benefited. Getting the points clear? For example, I am a peasant. I'm a poor peasant. I have only 1 acre of land. How much money I will pay to the money lender? How much money I will reinvest in my land? How much money I will pay as a tax? And from how much money I will take care of my personal expenses? Isn't that so? And suppose there is another rich farmer who has 50 acres of land. He has to pay same amount of money as a tax. He does not need to pay any sort of money to the money lender. Okay. Now he can invest more money on his land. Isn't that so? And if he's investing more money on his land, automatically the productivity of the soil will increase. Isn't that so? And if the productivity of the soil is increasing, obviously he's going to get good returns from that. So it only benefited the rich peasants. Getting the points clear? Then, basically, if the peasants were unable to pay the loans to the money lender will trouble them. Getting the points clear? He will seize the land. If they are unable to pay the tax to the English East India Company, English East India Company will seize their land. So basically, all these are flip side of the or negative impact basically of commercialization of agriculture. Okay. These are certain important facts. You need to go for that. So guys, did you understand commercialization of agriculture? Did you understand drain of wealth? Did you understand deindustrialization of Indian industries? Yes, exactly, Megha. Like saffron, it is an indigenous crop of India, which is also referred as kesar. It is basically in the region of Kashmir. All these are the crops, getting the points clear, which have what we say great demand in the international markets. And these crops are produced in India. Yes, good Megha Kriti. Okay, guys, are the points clear? Okay. Okay, Sujit, you are from Kurg. Very good. Kurg is also called, it is also known for warriors. Isn't that so? Like there were two field marshals of India, General Cariappa and General, that is Field Marshal Manekshaw. Both of them were from the region of Kurg. So it is also known for, Kurg is known for warrior and coffee. Yes, guys, there was a question in the prelims exam. Well-by commission is related to what? I repeat, there is a question called as well-by commission is related to what? So well-by commission was appointed to study drain of wealth. Getting the points clear? And Dada Bhai Nauroji himself was the member of that commission. Hope so the points are clear. Okay. Yes, Shruti. Cinema is what we say indigenous, or it is endemic to the region of Western Ghats of India. Okay, guys. Tomorrow's topic, thank you, Abu. The tomorrow's topic is basically what we say peasant movements in India. It is a very important topic tomorrow. Yes. Good, Shakuntala. Yes, guys. Please write down today's question. Yes, please write down today's question. The question is, our system acts very much like a sponge. I repeat, our system acts very much like a sponge, drawing up all the good things from the bank of Ganges and squeezing them down on the bank of Thames. Okay? Getting the points clear? You have to write this question, you have to write this answer basically in 250 words. The time limit is 10 minutes. Please follow the time limit, because in mains, time limit makes a matter. Getting the points clear? It's very crucial in the mains. Okay? Thank you, Gayatri. Okay. Thank you, Vasri. Thank you, Shipra. And thanks a lot, everyone. Subscribe to Unacademy and please use my code AKOUS if you like my lectures. I repeat, use my code AKOUS, and I would be sharing the link on the Telegram. Okay, I would be sharing the I would be sharing the PDF on my Telegram channel. Getting the points clear, friends? Okay, thank you and have a very nice day. And again, please use my code AKOUS.